The journey from Cleveland to Pennsylvania is a good 10 hours of open road. We will pass golden farmland and abandoned steel towns, rolling hills and deserted wasteland. These, though, are the craved electoral battlegrounds of the 2016 election. Our first stop is the village of Volant, home to many Amish. They live a very different lifestyle to most Americans. Buggies instead of cars, no electricity, their bales of hay meticulously hand-stacked. There are people who've managed, by and large, to stay immune to America's febrile political atmosphere. They rarely vote, yet their self-sufficiency, working the land, producing all that they eat, wear and use, can seem rather appealing to a nation that keeps on being told it is no longer great. Theirs is a lifestyle that predates globalization, a curious blueprint for the many Americans who now feel left behind by the speed of change, who feel that too many products are now being made overseas, or that the link between worker and product is now irreparably broken. Americans like those who live here, a town that could once boast the largest steel mill in the world. Concerns about globalization, voiced in the States by Trump and Sanders, or in the UK over Brexit, are often traced back to the financial crash of 2008. But of course, their roots were down decades ago, when all the heavy industry left places like this.
My mom and my grandma tell me a lot about it back when the town was a nice place to hang around and be at, when all the businesses were here and the steel mill was up and people were thriving. But let's hope we can get it back to where it is.
I asked Phil Bird which way he thinks he'll vote come November.
I dislike Hillary Clinton, and Donald Trump he's a joke.
So you hate both of them?
Pretty much. I wouldn't say I hate them, but I strongly dislike.
Pennsylvania hasn't voted for a Republican presidential candidate since 1988, but there are counties in this state that are getting redder, and here's why. The J&L steel complex that used to employ some 10,000 people in this Rust Belt town of Aliquippa has gone for good, and nothing has come to replace it. The protectionist policies of the 1960s gone. The workers blame globalization. They might once have chosen Bernie Sanders, and they're the challenge for Hillary Clinton to bring on side. This was downtown Aliquippa in its heyday, buzzing and bursting with life. Now that same road barely functions. We see no one on the streets, little business.
This used to be a dress shop, and my mom worked here when I was a kid.
Except this one, a cafe which doubles as a church community centre to those in need. Sam worked in the steel mills for 12 years until he was laid off. He found a new job, then lost that last year. Has it been hard to find more work here?
I'm not sure. Sometimes you try and look hard and make it happen, and sometimes you just don't slack off, not worry about it.
The cafe is run by evangelist Herb Bailey. He believes blaming globalization is wrong.
We are not players in the global market like we could be. We don't need to bring industry back that was lost. We need to create new industry. There are great innovations that can be done using the same physical labor, using the same intellect that captured the imagination of the rest of the world.
Sandra Gill runs the Dreamers Project from this cafe, inspiring the young women of this town to think big.
They didn't want to be the norm of having kids, hanging out in the corners. They want to do some positive things.
You're going to vote in November, are you?
Yes, I am.
Do you know who for?
Yes, I am. Yes, I do. You want me to say? Hillary?
Why?
For one, she was the backbone when her husband was the president. We all know that.
Will you use these instead of those?
Clinton polls exceptionally well with black Americans and with college graduates. But when it comes to the white working class, Trump leads her by an astonishing 40%.
Hell no, DNC! We won't vote for Hillary! Hell no, DNC!
Bernie Sanders might have brought many of them in, but the email leaks allow many of his supporters to voice what they long feared. Her nomination was a party stitch-up. In other words, it's no longer Bernie's problem, it's Hillary's. If the shrinking industrial heartland and all of this bucolic battleground in between doesn't feel she played fair, they may choose to stay home or go elsewhere.